Hey guys, today we're going to be looking at Clair de la Lune, number 24 in your book, and RLE, number 25. Now normally number 24 we play as a duet, and so we're going to teach you kind of both parts of that, and then we will assign you some playing partners for this one. So no new notes. Part one and part two. So this is a little bit different than what we've seen before. So there's 4 systems, just like we have on some of our other tunes, but now there's a part one and a part two on each one of those, okay? So as you would read it, you would read part one on the top line, part one on the second line, part one on the third line, part one on the fourth line. Same thing, part two on the top, part two on the second, part two on the third. Okay, so notice that you still go 1, 2, 3, 4 down, but if you're reading part one, continue to read part one all the way down there. So what I'm going to do, and again, remember we talked about that oftentimes when you see 4 lines, 1, 2, and 4 are very similar, and typically easier, and part 3 is a little bit more challenging, and that's the case with this. If you look at part 1, first line, second line, and last line, you'll see there are a lot of similarities, and same thing with part 2. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play part 1 through, and then if you are wanting to practice part 2 with me, you can play part 2 right along with me, starting when I play part 1, and then I'll play part 2, and then you can practice part 1 with that. And then I'll also play through the chords so you could practice that as well. So we'll go through this 3 different times. So if you'd like to practice part 1, here we go. And if you would like to practice part 2 along with part 1, this would be a good time to do that. So let me get where you can see. All right, here we go. Part 1 of Clair de Lune, starting on C. Here we go. Part 1. 1, 2, ready, go. One, two, second line. One, two, third line. To last line. To ready, good. And here we go, part 2. So you need to practice both parts. Here's practice of part 2. Once you have part 2 down, go back and you play part 2 while I'm playing part 1, and you're going to hear how these harmonies sound together. Or and also you can play part 1 when I'm playing part 2. So practice both parts and then practice them with me, and then also when I'm playing the harmony part. Here we go, part 2. Starting on open E. 1, 2, ready, go. Oh, here we go. 1, 2, ready, go. Second line and third line and last line. Good. So please practice part 1 and part 2 of this one, and then play them along part 1 with part 1, and then also practice you playing part 1 while I play part 2, and then you play part 2 while I play part 1. Good. And now let's turn the page and look at RLE. It's a fun tune, kind of an American tune. It has some really big string skips in there, so it's a little bit of a challenge. Oh, sorry, we're going to play the chords on RLE, or on Clair de Lune. So here we go. One more time. I'm going to play the chords, so this would be another way for you to practice. While I'm chording, you play those notes, either part 1 or part 2. So here's Clair de Lune. Now I'm playing the chords, and you can play along with me, okay? Here we go. 1, 2, ready, go. line. Here's the third line. Last line. Good. Now we turn the page over to our Lee. It's a great tune. I'll play it through for you one time, and then you can watch it back as much as you'd like. Beware of string skipping. We're adding no more notes, so we still just have those same notes. Open G, second finger A, open B, first finger C, third finger D, open E, first finger F, and third finger high G. So same notes, a little bit of a longer tune. So here we go. Here's number 25. 1, 2, ready, go. Two, ready, and. Good, so some tricky parts on this would be the very first bar where you're going open G, first, open, first, third, 2, third, okay? So make sure you get that down, and the same thing if you count backwards from the last bar, 1, 2, 3, under the D7, that third bar there is 3, 2, 3. So you're going to want to make sure you can practice that and have that down. 3, 2, 3 when you get to that last 3 bars. So here's the last 4 bars starting on the high E under the note C, under that chord C. Here's the last 4 bars. 1, 2, ready, go. So now I'm going to play the chords with this. Once you practice a lot with me to make sure you can play those through, it'd be great for you to practice with these chords. It's just another way to hear how this is going to sound. So here we go. You're playing the notes. I'm playing the chords from the top of RLE, number 25. 1, 2, ready, go. Second line. Last line. So there's a lot for you to practice on that one. Exercises 24, both parts 1 and 2, and RLE number 25. Go Hounds.